Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 4 of the conservatorship training. My name is Nicole Westfall, and I'm an attorney in the Grand Traverse Leelanau County area. And today we will be discussing the ins and outs of filing your first accounting for the conservatorship. Now, at this point, you've been a conservator for the ward for an entire year. You likely have captured all of the assets and cleaned up some messes financially for the protected individual. And now you have to account for all of your spending through this whole last year. So the accounting is due 56 days after the completion of the accounting cycle. So for example, if you were appointed on September 27th, 2021, the cycle ends on September 27th, 2022. You would have 56 days from September 27th, 2022 to turn in your accounting. So let's take a look at the accounting form and walk through how to fill this out and the little details that are necessary to file a successful accounting. So I'm going to just share my screen here. And you guys are going to see first a blank accounting form that we have here. So PC 584. It's a little bit daunting. So that's why I'm here to help you because it can be very scary at first. So first you see we have State of Michigan, Probate Court. We'll have, Grand Traverse or Leelanau County, whichever county you're in. We're going to have here, you'll check this box and you'll say, like potentially first accounting, second accounting, etc. If this is your final accounting, you would click this box. Although I'm sure if you're watching this, it's probably not your final accounting, because then you would be a veteran. If for some reason something gets messed up, then you would have to amend it, which I've had to do before. You would list your case number, your judge, who the court address is, the court telephone number, and then who the matter is for, the protected individual. So in a guardianship or conservatorship, the ward or protected individual current address and telephone number. So here you would want to write their home address, if they're staying in assisted living, if it's Medilodge, something like that. If they don't have a personal telephone number, then just list the facilities number. Sometimes you can also list like the conservator's number or the guardian's number. So then say like say, for example, I, Nicole Westfall, am the conservator of the estate and submit the following as my account, which covers the periods from, say, September 27th, 2021 to September 27th, 2022, right? So balance on hand from last account or value of inventory if first account. So here is where we would put down the balance of the very first inventory that we had just actually talked about. So I believe that balance was like $76,000, something like that, right? So you'd be like 76,000, da, 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 da. So you would type that in. That was not right. Okay, so as you can see, when you type that in, it goes into 3 different spots. So it goes into the total assets accounted for, because that's what we're starting at, and it goes for the total balance. So these numbers will continuously change as you go through and fill out the accounting form. So you would add income from this accounting, say, just for example, you had 50,000, right? So then that would pop up there. And then say you had, then say you had subtract disbursements in this accounting period. So then say you had, maybe 20,000, then that would go right there, right? So now you see they've auto calculated. So you have 76,000 plus 50,000 is your 126. Then you have $20,000 in disbursements. So say your total balance remaining would be $106,000, right? So this would you go down, and that's the amount that you need to have matched down here, okay? And we're going to go through an actual accounting, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So don't worry, I just wanted to kind of give you an overlook on a blank form to see how this would work. So here you have all your numbers, 106, that needs to match down here. Assets remaining at the end, 106, okay? So this is just kind of a basic rundown of the accounting. So we have the income and gain, we have the expenses. So the expenses are going to be all of the bills that you paid and any like groceries, cell phone bill, anything like that. Schedule C is gain and loss. So this is say you bought or sold a home, bought or sold a car, bought or canceled a life insurance policy. That's where that would go. And then items that are remaining would be anything that we listed on the inventory that's still remaining, or any new items that we have added. Then here you would just say the interested person's address and their representatives are identical to those appearing, except as follows. So here you would just write if anybody's name or addresses have changed. And then it says this account lists all income and other receipts and expenses and other disbursements that have come to my knowledge. This account, for some reason, would not be filed with the court. We don't usually click that. Now here you would say if the conservator had fiduciary fees. So a conservator is allowed to charge a little bit of money, or sometimes a lot of money for their services. So I know that a lot of professional conservators can charge anywhere from like $65 to $90 an hour. But then there's also people who can only, be charged maybe like the $83 a month state rate, because say they're like on, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. So here's where you would put what your fees are. A lot of times if family members are doing it, they don't even charge a fee. So if that's the case, then you just leave that blank. Now, important, it does say attaches a written description of the services performed. So we will go through that later. Attorney fees would be here if you, like, say you hired me or another attorney, like, to file for this accounting for you, then you would say what you paid them and attaches a written description of services performed. You would have your information here. Notice to interested persons. You must bring to the court's attention any objection you have to this account. Except in guardianships and conservatorships, the court does not normally review the account without an objection. Okay. You have the right to review proofs of income and disbursements at a time reasonably convenient to the fiduciary and yourself. You may object to all or part of an accounting by filing a written objection with the court. And if an objection is filed and not otherwise resolved, the court will conduct a hearing on the objection. You must serve the objection on the fiduciary or his or her attorney. So in this matter, some counties require a hearing on the accounts, no matter what. So like Manistee County, when you are going to file your account, then you need to do a notice of hearing and proof of service for that. And Judge Brunner will have a hearing to allow the accounts no matter what. So you do a petition to allow accounts, the notice of hearing, and then you go through that whole thing. Grand Traverse County does not do a notice of hearing. They do just what this says, that the court does not review the account without an objection. Okay, so you don't need to do like a petition to allow accounts or a notice of hearing for Grand Traverse County. Those are the only two counties that I've actually filed accounts in. So I'm not sure how Leelanau County does it, or Antrim County. But I do know that every county varies. And so you want to check with your county that you're filing in and ask them if they do a hearing, or if they wait until somebody objects. Okay. So we're going to look at the actual accounting that I have done again, and it's from the same case that I went over the inventory for. So it was in Grand Traverse County. This was my first account. I did the court address and the court telephone number for Jane Smith. And again, this is where you would do the ward or individual's, the ward or protected individual's current address. So I, Nicole Westholm, conservator, 9/27/21 to 9/27/22. The $73,682.39 is what we pulled off of the inventory. That is our starting number for the first account. That is the only time that that's the starting number. Okay, so after this, see total balance of assets remaining, $61,047.31. This number right here will be the starting number for the second account. So it's a continual thing. So that's why it's so important that you do your inventory correctly and that you do your first accounting correctly, specifically because those set you up for your entire case. It's important to do everything correctly, obviously, but the very beginning can be very crucial to make sure that you're not messing up down the line, because you don't want to get to your third or fourth accounting and then realize that you've messed something up and you have to go through and amend every single one. That can be an absolute nightmare. So we start here. So balance on hand from last account, or value of inventory of first account. So $73,682.39. So we added the income here, and that was state of Michigan pension. She had $23,000, Social Security $15,000, and then she got an income tax refund. So we have the number right here. The investment gain came from the JP Morgan IRA, so not much, $10. And we type that in there. And then we have down no disposition gain. So the total income and gain was $42,267.64. So we pop up here and you'll see it went in $42,267.64. So we're all good with our income. Sounds good. So then we go down total assets accounted for. At that point, those two numbers have just been added together. So the balance from the inventory and then the income that I put. So that is where the 115,950.03 comes from. The next thing we have to do is Schedule B. So these are expenses, losses, and other disbursements. Now, if somebody doesn't have a lot of different bills that they pay, you can very easily type everything in these boxes. So say they had rent, they had a cell phone bill, they had groceries, they had clothes, and then maybe they had a budget for allowance, right? So you could very easily type in everything here that's necessary. This person had a lot more expenses than that because she lives in an assisted living home. And so she has a little bit more freedom to her money because her sister is her conservator. And so I did please see attached. So for that, I went and I did, let's see if this is the right one. No. So I went ahead and did Schedule B accounting. And so you see here, I put Jane Smith, first annual account, conservatorship, Schedule B, and then that's where you would put your file number. And I actually went through and I listed in detail all the expenses and the amounts because they would not fit on that page. So I did rent for Glen Eagle and AvisaCare. I did medical bill payments, food, groceries, eating out, household items and clothing, vehicle expenses, cell phone, Wi-Fi subscriptions, bank fees, legal and professional, prior debts that were paid off, insurance, contributions, probably that might have been something at church, IRS income tax payments, allowance, so there's that allowance piece that we're talking about, and miscellaneous. Now I want to touch on allowance because that's really important. A lot of times what you'll do is you'll just give a ward say $100 a month or $200 a month, whatever it is, right? You don't have to account for every single thing that that person is spending. You can very easily go allowance. This was $19.30, and that's okay because then that person can spend whatever they want. It's just important that you put on there exactly what that allowance was so that the court can see that, oh, that went to, you know, the protected individual for their own personal spending. Now in this matter, I had miscellaneous. That's just $260 that I couldn't find. That is very common in first accountings because you're opening a lot of bank accounts, you're closing a lot of bank accounts, you're transferring money over, you're doing a lot of things. And sometimes like bank fees and things like that, they just kind of get lost in the shuffle, you know, because those $5, $10 can add up. So it's very okay for you to have miscellaneous of a couple $100s. If you have more than a couple $100, it's not okay. You've messed something up. You need to go back and look at your books. But my rule of thumb is under 500, especially for the first accounting. I might not be as lenient on the second accounting because you really should have it together by then. But the first accounting, I'm like, you know, if it's like $500 or less, it's okay. You know, there was a lot going on there. So that was what I do for Schedule B. And then we have our number here. We had an investment loss and we had a disposition loss, which we're going to go through here shortly. And so our total expenses was $54,902.72, which goes right here. And that's what we're left with for our total balance, right? So where these come from is Schedule C. So on this one, it was a little bit different, is they sold the car and this was the date that it was sold. And so the valuation was this valuation, $67.69 is what came off of our inventory from our KBB Blue Book value. And then this is how much it was sold for. So we had that negative amount there. And then we had our life insurance, which was canceled. And that was sold on 10/30/2021. And that was $5,000 that we have on the inventory. And there was no proceeds of sale or anything like that. So that's where we got that negative $5,000 number. So our total was 5767, right? So we have 5767 here, and then this investment gain and investment loss came probably from the JP Morgan IRA. So that's how we kind of filled all of that out. So then we move down to Schedule D. We have itemized assets remaining at end of the accounting period. So please see attached. Again, there were too many assets that were remaining at the end there, so I went ahead and changed that into a Word sheet that I did. So Jane Smith, first annual account, conservatorship, Schedule D, file number, and then I listed each asset and the amount, right? So again, I just took the bank account numbers off, but I listed everything that she had. Now it's important here because you can see some of these accounts are closed and some of them are listed at $0. So the reason that I did that is because I had included some of those Huntington and Chase accounts on my inventory, and so I need to show the court what happened to them. So even if they're no longer open, I need to include on here that they were opened or closed and what the amount is, so that for the next time we don't have to include them. So this Huntington checking account was at $0, but at the time that the accounting period ended, she had not closed the account yet, so I left it on there. Then we have the Huntington savings account that was closed. Chase checking was closed. She had opened these new accounts right here. So I listed the amounts there for that. And then something weird happened. This doesn't always happen, but she had actually opened and closed both of these accounts in the accounting period. So I just accounted for those. And then the JP Morgan IRA, 167, and then personal property that came right off the inventory so that we balance out our numbers. That's $2,000. Okay. So our total we ended with $61,047.31. I know this is a little bit overwhelming, but I think that it's really important for you guys to see exactly how the accounting works and where the numbers fit in. So as you can see here, we only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So that's why I did an additional sheet. So then down here, we have no change in any of the names and addresses. The fiduciary fees that she accounted for was $225. She actually charged for just preparing the taxes. This is for her sister. And then here were my attorney's fees that I had charged in that accounting period as well. So what I did is I did another sheet and, you know, Jane Smith, first annual account, conservator, file number. So number 6, fiduciary fees for this accounting period. And I laid out that it was a 2020 income tax return. It was a 2021 income tax return. So that's where we got that 225 number. Then I did number 7, attorney fees for this accounting period, conservatorship case, and then a bond hearing, right? So we had $1,036. So then I labeled that just number 6 and number 7 so that the court could see that. And that accounts for here where it says attached is a written description of services performed. Then we have our information here. And that is all filled out. So the main thing that you can see here is that this number, 61,047.31, matches this number, 61,047.31. And the only way that we were able to match those numbers up is because we did that miscellaneous of about $260. And that's okay. Sometimes that happens. So then we'll move over again. After you've completed your accounting, then you're going to fill out your proof of service. So you're going to do the county, the file number, who the matter is for. Then we would do a first annual account. Then we would say, according to court rule, we served it by, and then you would say, you know, Jane Smith, maybe the mom, maybe the dad, maybe another attorney on record, and maybe Social Security. Just depends on if they receive that or not. And then also here you could say, according to court rule, I serve by personal service. If you did serve for some reason somebody personally, maybe Jane was served personally, then you would just fill that out here. Okay. And then you would do your date and your signature. Now, one really important piece of information that goes along with the accounting is what documents do you turn in? Okay, so you don't have to turn in your entire bank account statement for each account that you have. You don't have to turn in the whole package for like the JP Morgan, right? So all you need to do, and all the court wants to see, is they want like the front of the bank account, like usually like the first page will have all the information that you need, but you only need to turn in the last month of the accounting that shows this 9/27/2022 day. So if you have like 4 bank accounts, get the bank account that shows 9/27/2022, and those would be the statements that you would submit. So maybe it would be like 10 pages, right? So if each account's like 2 pages long, you would just submit it for the month of September or whatever shows that September 22nd date, September 27th date. Then as far as the KBB value for the car, you would just submit like a 1-sheet valuation on that. If you have a home, then you would go ahead and put down like the SEV. So usually a property tax statement is sufficient for that. So you would just do the SEV value of that home. Obviously, you're going to double it for purposes of the account, and then that would work for that. The JP Morgan, I just did the very first page. It showed the quarterly number. And then you don't have to submit anything for personal property unless it was a situation where you had like an appraisal done, and there's a sheet for that, or you have like something very expensive that you need to turn in for that. So it's just really important to know that the documents that you turn in, they don't have to be, 3 inches thick. The court doesn't want to sift through all that. What they want to see is a bank statement with that ending date on it. They want to see a quarterly statement with that ending date on it. They want to see, a property tax statement for the home. They want to see a KBB value for the car, and then any other various things that you have. So that's really important to note, because I know with this client in particular, she sent me a very large stack. And I was like, awesome. Thank you for that, but I don't need all that. So that would be probably the conclusion to our accounting. Again, this is due 56 days after your period has ended. So you have your 1-year period, and then you have 56 days to turn in your accounting. And then the cycle will just repeat itself. Now, if the ward or the protected individual does pass away during this time in this 1-year cycle, then you will just be doing that accounting period sooner rather than later. So you would just stop, and then you would just change your dates. So it would say like September 27th of 2022 to say like May 1st of 2023, and then you would just account for everything that happened in that date. And then you would submit that to the court as a final account for them to review. So that will wrap up our accounting, and I hope that this helped, and you guys take care. Thanks.